So needless to say, this free agency period, this first week of it in particular, was very, very interesting on a number of different levels because right from the get-go, literally after I put the last episode up, it was already underway. So I might as well talk about that first because boy did the Pittsburgh Steelers make a lot of headlines this week for some of the decisions they decided to make. And it started on Sunday night when, after the Oscars had aired, the news broke that Russell Wilson was joining the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Breaking news on a late Sunday night. 9-time Pro Bowler, former Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson planning to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He will sign a team-friendly one-year deal with the Denver Broncos, will end up paying the $38 million of the salary. Wilson met with Steelers officials for a lengthy afternoon into the evening on Friday for 6 hours. Went well enough. He'll be wearing the black and gold in 2024.
Which I was really I, like everybody else, was really stunned that that actually happened. Like, that's not usually this whole week has been the complete opposite of what you would expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to do. Like, they do not usually spend as much money as they do on the first weekend of free agency and or go for these big names here in particular. But man, they made probably they had probably two of the smartest moves they made this whole time is when it comes to the free agency market. Because let's start with what the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Russell Wilson signs with the Steelers to a one-year contract, and but here's the beautiful thing about this that makes this all the more interesting. So Russell Wilson signs, and he's only getting the vet minimum of $1.2 million. Now, why is that? Why is that in particular such a big deal? Well, because the fact of the matter is that not only did the Steelers get him for a pretty low price. I mean, $1.2 million for Russell Wilson is very, very interesting, even if it is for 1 year in particular. But here's the beautiful thing about this whole thing. And that is the fact that not only did the Steelers did not spend a whole lot of money didn't spend a whole lot of money to get Russell Wilson, but the Denver Broncos are going to be paying him for next year as well. They're going to be holding in the $38 million that he's still very much owed by the Denver Broncos because of that contract that they signed. And I've got the tweet here from Adam Schefter, which kind of sums it up. Wilson will sign a team-friendly one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the vet minimum of $1.2 million, and also with the Broncos will wind up paying $38 million of his salary while Wilson wears the black and yellow, which that's pretty damn amazing when you think about it, that the Steelers were able to pull that off. And it's literally a low risk but possibly high reward situation because, okay, so what if it doesn't work out? What if what if it doesn't work out after 1 year? Okay, you just move on to somebody else then. It's literally costing them very little money, and if it doesn't work out, you just move on and you go somewhere else. You go to somebody else. You get somebody else to take that position, and it was a very, very interesting situation that took place there. Like, I really didn't think that anybody in particular really expected that to happen. Like, if you were to tell me that I'll talk about that in just a second here, but so that's how the week started. On Sunday night, when Russell Wilson essentially signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers for a very low deal, where the Denver Broncos are still paying him, even though he's no longer on the team. So then on Tuesday, when we were getting closer to the free agency blitz in particular, the Steelers made big moves. They signed Patrick Queen from LSU, from the Baltimore Ravens.
We got a bag alert via Swagoo. Marcus Spears is reporting that Ravens free agent linebacker Patrick Queen told Swagoo that he plans to sign a 3-year, $41 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nice. New quarterback, new linebacker.
Of course, he was with LSU when before he got drafted, but Steelers signed him to a 3-year, $41 million deal, which was incredible to think about. It's very interesting because he had been there for 5 years with the Baltimore Ravens, and now he's coming to Pittsburgh, and he's already setting himself up as to be the villain. So And the Ravens made some interesting moves as well, which we'll get to in a moment. But so the first two deals that they made were pretty cool, pretty interesting. And then the questions started to take shape because later on in that day,
Diontae Johnson, one of their receivers, they locked into an extension a couple years ago. I think last year, it's fair to say, had some moments in the Steelers locker room. Pretty clear was not going to be in their plans this season. Needed to figure this one out. Needed to make sure their receiver room was right. He ends up getting dealt to the Carolina Panthers for a player they have been trying to trade for, I don't know, about a year. Diontae Jackson with a big salary, still couldn't really play, just was due too much money. They end up getting traded for one another in a pick swap.
The Steelers traded Diontae Johnson to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for, Diontae Jackson, the cornerback, let's see. Acquired in a trade with the Carolina Panthers along with Diontae Jackson with a 2024 6th-round pick in exchange for Diontae Johnson and 2024 7th-round pick. And, yeah, the Steelers needed help with a cornerback, but I think a lot of us were really hoping maybe they'd get somebody like L'Jarius Sneed or maybe some of the other free agent cornerbacks is out there, but yeah, Diontae Jackson is very odd. Like, it's a very odd. I don't think the Steelers really got a whole lot for that particular trade in particular. I mean, especially since Diontae Jackson is now heading into is going to be 29 by the time the next season comes around. But I don't know. I mean, it didn't feel like Diontae Johnson really the Steelers got a whole lot for him, but I feel like that's part of a plan in particular for Omar Khan. I still think he's about to send a king's ransom to somebody, either Minnesota or San Francisco, for Justin Jefferson or Deebo Samuel or one of these big wide receivers on these other teams. Maybe Stephon Diggs, because they haven't really gotten a wide receiver since then, except for Van Jefferson, which they got on Friday. But yeah, that felt weird. And then they got they brought in Deshaun Elliott from the Ravens and Lions. And then Friday, because the belief as Friday began, when Russell Wilson was doing his press conference, was the belief that Russell Wilson will be there for a year. He'll learn. Kenny Pickett will learn under him, and so Kenny Pickett will basically be there to learn from Russell Wilson. And then 10 minutes before I went to work.
And we have breaking news out of the NFL where the Steelers are trading Kenny Pickett to the Eagles. That has been confirmed by our senior NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Kenny Pickett, drafted in the first round back in 2022 by the Steelers, started 12 games for them last season before suffering an ankle injury, eventually falling behind Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph in the pecking order there. He will now get a fresh start in Philly, where he will be the backup to Jalen Hurts.
The news broke that the Steelers were trading Kenny Pickett to the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's just say that I was not happy. In fact, I was mad throughout that day. Like, I just felt really, really let down by that, as most Steeler fans did when Kenny Pickett, especially the Kenny Pickett fans and the Pitt Panther fans. It was just like what's going on here? And it's just like, so what happened was that, Kenny Pickett gets traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and and let me see if I can find the details on it, because I know they got a 3rd round selection for him from the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me see if I can find the tweet right here. And, here's the story here, so let me go ahead and open this up here. So in a trade announced Saturday, the Steelers will receive a 2024 3rd-round pick, number 98, and 2 2025 7th-round picks for Pickett and a 2024 4th-round pick. The value is similar to what the Washington Commanders got from the Seattle Seahawks in exchange for quarterback Sam Howell. This is coming from ESPN's website, with Brooke Pryor writing the story here. With the move, Wilson is the only quarterback under contract for the Steelers. Pickett, who finished the season backing up Mason Rudolph, was expected to compete with Wilson in training camp for the starting job, but internally, Wilson was viewed as more as the starting quarterback, sources told ESPN. Because of that, according to sources, Pickett preferred to get a fresh start elsewhere. And then there was this belief that there was a story out there that Kenny Pickett was basically unhappy with the decision from the Steelers to get rid of him, and like he said, hey, trade me, and like, okay, there you go. We're gonna send you to Philadelphia, where you could do, was where all you're going to do is like, all he's gonna do is basically back up Jalen Hurts for the rest of his career, which sadly he's got more chances now to go to a Super Bowl than the Steelers will ever will, and that's the biggest thing about this whole thing. It's just like out of all the quarterbacks that are starting anew, like, I feel like Kenny Pickett got screwed over because it's basically because Mike Tomlin decided to still keep Matt Canada around. Matt Canada should not have been there after the beginning of last year. Yeah, the reason why Kenny Pickett was so bad last year was basically because you kept Matt Canada around, and you can't just keep him around, even though the team yeah, they had a great second half of the season in 2022, but everybody and their grandmother was telling you cannot have Matt Canada stick around because it's going to hurt Kenny Pickett's building as the franchise quarterback. And what happened? It hurt his growing as a franchise quarterback because you were limiting him to only the smallest things possible. You wouldn't let him throw down the field. You wouldn't let him do anything that made him the star that he was at Pitt. And just 2 years into it, he's one of the worst. He's now the worst first pick for the Steelers in almost 30 years, and it's not his fault. Like, nobody will ever admit that it's not his fault now because of this. Because everyone loves Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin is the one that has to make all decisions here. And the Steelers are moving into the. It's like, I could not believe that as soon as Kenny Pickett got traded, how everybody who was defending this guy at first was just like, "Good, get his ass out of here." It's just like. It just broke me that day. It felt like somebody had died in my family. I was just like deflated. I was just like, I just can't handle it. I felt like Robert De Niro in Silver Linings Playbook right now. I felt like, and how ironic is that? I felt like that I had done something, or someone in my family had done something to cause this to happen. Because that was the thing with Robert De Niro's character in Silver Linings Playbook. Like, he always thought that because of what his son did, it affected how the team did, is how the Philadelphia Eagles did in that movie. That's what I felt like watching this. I felt like somebody had done something wrong in my family to cause this to happen, and Friday was a rough day for me, and I just couldn't get over the disappointment of that, and it really irked me a little bit, But then that led to Saturday. So we get to Saturday, and that because of what happened with Kenny Pickett, suddenly the idea of bringing in Justin Fields became more of a reality. Because when you think about it, Justin Fields the Bears probably wanted to get a first-round pick for him, but as everybody basically said, no, we're not going to do this. No, we're not going to do this, and they basically ran out of ideas. Here comes the Steelers, basically. And then right around this time on Saturday night, while we were out for a birthday dinner over at Shelly Pie Pizza, which is a great pizza place here in Pittsburgh. If you ever come out here, come to Shelly's and come to Vincent's Pizza. They have really, really damn good pizza. The news broke when we were eating in there.
All right, now to the NFL, where the Justin Fields era in Chicago is ending after just 3 seasons. Adam Schefter reporting that the Bears are trading the former 11th overall pick to the Steelers in exchange for a conditional 6th-round pick in next year's draft. But Fields will not compete for the starting job. That position in Pittsburgh belongs to Russell Wilson.
It would be. It's a 2025 conditional 6th-round pick that could be a 4th if he plays in 51% of the plays this upcoming season. But the Bears were not worried about the compensation. They thought they were doing right by the young man. They send him to Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Steelers say that he will back up Russell Wilson initially. We certainly know the talents that Justin Fields has, so that'll be an interesting quarterback situation in Pittsburgh.
That Justin Fields was coming to Pittsburgh, and it literally didn't cost the Steelers anything of significance. Like, it only cost them a conditional 6th-round pick. And even with a conditional 6th-round pick, it basically means that, it could become a 4th-round selection if Justin Fields plays 49, I think it was 51% of the snaps in 2024. So basically what would need to happen is that Russell Wilson would have to be absolutely horrible in the first half of the season to make the Steelers say, Justin, get in there. And if he plays 51% of the plays in the season, he essentially becomes a 4th-round selection for the Chicago Bears. But even then, though, that is still incredible how they were able to pull that off. The Bears got fleeced again by Omar Khan of all people, because he did the same thing last year with Chase Claypool, which that hurt that they still got rid of him, but you know what? He hasn't done anything of note since then. Like, it's like the teams that he goes to have no idea what to do with him and just have to take him because he's a wide receiver. He'll eventually do something for us eventually, which never really comes to be. But yeah, when they got Justin Fields, it's just like, wow, if you were to tell me a month ago that the Steelers would basically have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on the roster as the quarterbacks, and it would cost them only about $3 million for both of them. That's pretty impressive stuff here. Like, I don't think it cost him anything to bring Justin Fields in. I know that he has a 5th-year option coming up on May 2nd that the Steelers could go for, but I don't even know if they're doing it with Najee Harris either, so I don't know if he's going to be sticking around here for too much longer, which would suck, but I don't know. I think they'd be more interested in keeping Najee than Justin Fields on a 5th-year option, but they could. I think they said they could still sign him in the summertime to like a smaller deal, but yeah, if you were to tell me that Russell Wilson and Justin Fields were going to be playing for the Steelers in 2024 and Kenny Pickett was going to be somewhere else, I would have told you were crazy, but that's just the way the world works right now, and that's just what happened.